Thank you very much, gracious speaker. You know, later this year, when we're the other side of the house, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss these exchanges we've had. I'm going to miss you. Members of the National Assembly, Guyanese everywhere, I'm privileged to join with my colleagues, Budget 2025, and I want to thank the members of the government too, who have made presentations. When we find areas to support the government, Mr. Speaker, we will. We have no trouble in doing that. And over the last 4 years, we have found common ground on some occasions. We've seen the measures for children, school grants, go up a little bit. And then we see some kids come out of nowhere. We were all surprised. I saw what you did there. I'm on to you. You raise the money and then you bring out kids from all over the place. I saw what you did there. But that being said, Mr. Speaker, it's difficult to come after the Minister of Foreign Affairs. It's very difficult. I have a hard task on my hand. Year before the last November, there was a motion passed in Venezuela. And we had a lot of fearful people in this country. There was morbid fear, it was palpable. I had the privilege of representing the parliamentary opposition with my colleague from Region Number 1, Mr. Ronald Cox. And we went down there. I went down there to Mabaruma to see our Guyanese brothers and sisters and to stand in support with them. For those who don't know, Region 1 is a border frontier. We went all the way down to Yaroquita, which is the first contact the Venezuelans would have with our country. I didn't see Minister Todd there reassuring our Guyanese brothers and sisters. I didn't see the verbose, goodly bishop. Didn't see the honorable member Suzanne Rodriguez. Didn't see Ashni Singh. Didn't see the vice president. As a matter of fact, to be fair, I did see the commander-in-chief, and he spent about 9 minutes at the waterfront, and then he was gone. The video is there to prove. But those of us who are less fearful, we went down to Yaroquita, we went down to Imbatero, and we spoke to our Guyanese brothers and sisters, and we let them know that we're here for you. I want to leave most of this retort and response to the Foreign Affairs Minister to my eminent colleague Amanzo Walton Desir, who I'm certain will deal with him. Suffice to say that Maduro and his administration, you understand why they have gotten more emboldened under this administration when you listen to the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs. All right-thinking Guyanese advised against the meeting in Argyle, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, for that meeting and what we expended on that, what have we to show for it? Honorable Minister, under your watch, the Haitian situation rose to crescendo under this administration, under our chairmanship of CARICOM, and we declared success because we installed an interim management committee of sorts in Haiti. Haiti is worse off today. I will leave most of it to my eminent colleague, as I said. Guyana's only fared well on the international stage and globally because we have had in David Arthur Granger the foresight in 2018 to take this matter to the International Court of Justice, and you abuse us for that ever so often. That is why we have done extremely well in this period. Don't let us be confused. And we have done extremely well globally Because on this side of the house, we have historically had strong leaders on the international stage. Guyana's foreign affairs must be judged on the success of the fishing license deal with Suriname. We must be judged on that. We treated His Excellency Chandrika Prasad Santokhi to a state visit, and what have we to show for those fishing licenses that we were promised 4 years after? Minister Todd, that is on you and that is on your government. We like to talk half and left half, but I come to talk the other half. This situation persists, Mr. Speaker, as I'm on fishing, Honorable Minister of Agriculture. It persists because Guyanese know everywhere. When you find a paku, you bossy back. How much backstab got? That is the question. The Honorable Member. That is the question we have to ask ourselves. Mr. Speaker, I've come to this esteemed house to address this so-called transformative 2025 budget presented by the senior minister within the office of the president with responsibility for finance. While grand on paper, Mr. Speaker, grand on paper, the budget invites critical examination when viewed through the lens of past fiscal practices, specifically those, but yet finish my law degree in 3 years. When 3 years, while grand on paper, Mr. Speaker, you, Mr. Foreign Affairs Minister, you would serve your time better shouting at Maduro and not at me. While grand on paper, while grand on paper, while grand on paper, while grand on...
Honorable Member, Mr. Duncan, I've stopped your clock, right? You'll get back your time. Please, members, there is a standing order with respect to interruption, Honorable Member Todd. Honorable Member Todd, you had a chance to speak. And I want to caution members, in the gallery. Clapping, thumping on the desks is not for you. And if I see that again, I'll have to ask you to be removed. Go ahead, Honorable Member, please.
For the record, I studied communications at the undergraduate level, at the diploma level from 2015, from 2009 for 2 years, pursued law after that, studied for 3 years and passed, didn't fall out. Graduated from the law department of the University of Ghana in 2015. And I became student president in my first year at UG. While grand on paper, Mr. Speaker, the 2025 budget invites critical examination when viewed through the lens of past fiscal practices, specifically those of budgets 2020 through 2024, and the lived experience of Guyanese. Budget 2025, the theme of budget 2025 should be what Guyanese, the theme of budget 2025, Mr. Speaker, should be, the budget theme should be what Guyanese see when they look for an update on the infamous cash grant, printed but not yet available. The theme of this budget should be what Guyanese see when they check the status of the $100,000 cash grant, distribution venue to be determined. From instantaneously in November last year, rather October 10th, instantaneously $200,000 for Guyanese household. It moved to November month 10, before Christmas, before New Year, and Guyanese are still waiting. Benefits from the budget 2025 will remain elusive, Mr. Speaker, like the benefits of past budgets, printed but not yet available, distribution venue to be determined. Don't let this come into this house, Mr. Speaker, and try to kerfuffle us and Guyanese people as though independence was gained in this country in 2015. The PUP has had 32 years in government. 32 years. What have we to show for it? A young teacher took me to a field at the back of, I think it was Diamond, said my house lot somewhere here. Somewhere. And of course, we didn't build anything. So while my colleague was showing me that vast expanse, somewhere out here, the land is, the Honorable Member Susan Rodriguez had a cutlass chopping her way to Linden. She wasn't using the highway. A young nurse said, yes, I got a house lot. I paid for it, I got a title, but I don't know where it is. I've never been shown a map, a space where this house is, and that is replicated thousands of times in this country. Why? Because you want to come and preach in the National Assembly, we give out 6,000 house lots, but people never see them and don't have access to them. Guyana, here is something you didn't know. We are meeting at a time, Mr. Speaker, when the former technical director of operations at Gaisuco, Dwarka Bahadur, says that the hiring of 7 Cuban experts at a huge cost to help the factory operations has yielded no tangible results. He says similar recruitments from India will likely produce the same results. Let us set the economic context from which we will interrogate Budget 2025. Bahadur went on to state the company, through whatever deliberations, sought to bring 7 Cuban experts for the factories at enormous cost to the company, who have to date made 0 contributions. And I repeat, Bahadur says 0. He goes on to say Gaisuco needs field help, but only receive factory experts. Let us set the context for the budget. He goes on to say, I am inclined to say, as a trained, qualified technologist, I am dismayed at the seemingly casual response to the challenges of the sugar industry, tinkering with the structure, Honorable Minister, and blaming the directors, Bahadur says, would not solve the problems of the industry. Guyana, here is something you didn't know. We're meeting at a time when companies are closing. Last budget, the budget before, I heard the Honorable Minister of Finance premise huge job growths based on BPOs they were bringing. This is business processing outsourcing companies. Intel closed last year. That BPO, they closed last year under the magnificent watch of this government. Nice time in the economy. Let me tell you something you didn't know. More nice time. Midas BPO transitioned out of their business in Linden. That they like to quote, they brought 100 jobs to Linden through Midas BPO. They transitioned to a company called Prochant. And Prochant downsized from 100 to 35. This is the other half we didn't hear in the budget context. Acuity BPO also closed, shut down its operations locally. We didn't hear about that. That glowing part of the budget, that glowing part of the economy. But it was not just limited to BPOs. For instance, a company called Own the Coconuts, they closed the factory last year. Last year, I'm happy to bring you up to speed. Demerara Bakery closed its doors last year. And lots of these companies keep mentioning rising costs. Guyana, here is something you didn't know. Single largest project that we're investing in, the gas to shore. We've been adamant this project needs a feasibility study. And we were told the Exim Bank and its consultants did a feasibility study. But we learned recently from the Exim Bank, and I want to quote the letter from the Exim Bank. The Exim Bank, based on a request that was made, states this, Mr. Speaker: you have requested any and or all feasibility studies conducted by the U.S. Exim Bank for loan application, and it states the loan application. We've conducted a comprehensive search of the files within the Office of the Board Authorized Finance, Engineering, and Environmental Department for records that would be responsive to your requests. This is the component within Exim, this is the bank talking, in which responsive records could reasonably be expected to be found. Please be advised, we are unable to locate or identify any responsive records as Exim did not conduct a feasibility study. Talk half and left half. Guyana, just in case you didn't know.
Now you know.
Honorable member, you've completed the first part of your presentation, including the time I gave you back. You have 5 minutes to conclude. Can someone so move?
Mr. Speaker, I do move that the honorable member be given 5 minutes to conclude his presentation.
Thank you, Honorable Member Jones. Honorable Member, you may continue in 5 minutes and conclude.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To get a good snapshot of where we are as a company, for the last year plus, every Monday, Sabbath News publishing how the cost of living affecting you. How the cost of living affecting Guyanese. $80 a pound of sugar has gone up to $240, has gone up to $300. Rice has gone from 2,010 kg back to 2,800, right? And it has gone beyond that. They mentioned transportation costs has gone up. Among other things, housing materials, honorable member, cement, zinc sheet, sand has all gone up. Just in case you didn't know. Pensioners like Venus Wright struggle with the high cost of living. Farmers like Ramlakan Bismuth lament $5,000 barely buys necessities. You got Natasha Williams, a single mother, who says, I have to work 2 jobs to keep my children fed and in school. Housing for me is out of reach. Dennis Marshall, a fisherman, highlights the price of fuel gone up. Gloria Singh, a small shop owner, laments people just don't have the money to buy. Rajesh Narayan, a mechanic, says spare parts are so expensive now, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on, Mr. Speaker. And on and on. Here's something you didn't know, Minister Utad. Billions dedicated to housing and water, and yet we have no comprehensive spending details. We don't have that. Bureau of Statistics, $2 billion later, can't produce the census. Just in case you didn't know, Minister Todd. Fiscal deficit keeps increasing. Sugar has declined 21%. Income tax out of this world. No tax record. Exxon, Hex, and their counterparts, Sinuk, as well. The part-time job scheme just keeps going up. Why? It is signaling underemployment. The fishing sector, 1% growth. Gold mining sector, 0.5 growth. The government's diversification rhetoric is contradicted. Island gas is carrying everything else, and the non-oil sector keeps failing us, just in case you didn't know. As I conclude, Mr. Speaker, Budget 2025 is not a vision for progress. It is a missed opportunity. It prioritizes political agenda of the PPP over the practical needs of the Guyanese people. It is an election year budget, over-reliance on oil revenues, lack of transparency, inadequate measures to address poverty and inequity mar this budget, Mr. Speaker. It mars this budget. We need a budget that genuinely reflects the aspirations of all Guyanese, not just a select few, like the Honorable Minister Todd. I urge this House, Mr. Speaker, to scrutinize Budget 2025 thoroughly, demanding accountability and transparency at every step. And finally, Mr. Speaker, let us work together to ensure that Guyana's financial resources are used to build a truly